Thank you so very much, Les. I could listen to an introduction like that forever. I thought I was. What a dear friend, and very, very flattered. And I have to thank all of you for being here this afternoon. It's extremely flattering. And I'm honored to be included with the past recipients that you heard about. It's such an honor to receive the Friend of Children's Award from my dear friends at Child Guidance and Family Solutions, as I have a tremendous respect and admiration for the work that they do. We heard the tremendous story that Ethan presented, how moving, and what talks about what is really important in what they do. And thank you, Ethan, for sharing that with us, and thanks Child Guidance for everything that they continue to do. Because I've had the pleasure of seeing firsthand their mission to be advocates for the children and families of this community, and especially those that are most vulnerable. Their mission is succeeding. We have seen how their services are helping keep children out of children's hospital, where we see the tragic results of what happens when these children and their families don't get the help that they so desperately need. So again, thank you. Thank you for all my friends for this very, very impressive and humbling recognition. But I must tell you, when Elaine called and asked if I'd accept this award, I was somewhat reluctant to say yes, because first of all, I'm very uncomfortable standing up here in the spotlight. You know, I think we all do what we do because it's the right thing to do. But I also knew that if I accepted it, I'd have to speak in public. And that's certainly not my strongest skill set. In fact, I'm reminded of a Jerry Seinfeld monologue where Jerry said he came across a national survey that stated the number one fear that people have is the fear of public speaking. Number two is the fear of dying. He thought how ironic this was that people were more afraid of giving their eulogy than they were of lying dead there in that coffin. And believe me, I've thought a bit about that lately. Nothing like a little pressure with so many of my dear friends here. But obviously I accepted, and here I am. And I do appreciate the opportunity to speak about the two reasons that I agreed to accept. First of all, as I said earlier, the services provided by Child Guidance and Family Solutions are so very important to this community. Over 2,000 children, adolescents, families visit their facilities each week for counseling, education, support, and treatment. Did you know that preschoolers are 3 times more likely to be expelled than kids in grades K through 12? That every day, each and every day, 160,000 kiddos in our country miss school because they're afraid of being bullied. 1 in 10 children under the age of 18 suffers from mental illness severe enough to cause some level of impairment. Nearly 50,000 children, teens, men and women in Summit County alone suffer from a mental disorder each and every year. 50,000. These are staggering statistics. And I also think there's a misconception, or a stigma, if you will, associated with mental health, that it is not a health problem. This couldn't be farther from the truth. There's no health without mental health. Helping children become healthier in both mind and body establishes the foundation for a more successful educational experience, stronger family relationships, and a more satisfying peer friendship. Without being mentally healthy and emotionally strong, we cannot be physically healthy. And the impact of this mind-body relationship is so critical to the approach that Child Guidance employs in their clinical work. We must help to ensure that these services are always available. This agency cannot make it without the community being involved. Foundation, businesses, individuals. These kids are all our kids. There's not one family or one child that escapes the impact of a child who struggles with mental, emotional, or behavioral health issues. They sit in our churches, go to our schools, eat popcorn in our movie theaters, and live through all of our lives. Yet the struggle so often seems to be for people to realize these kids don't look different, but they are. They are trying desperately every day to have as normal and fulfilling a life as they can. When they lose, we all lose. We lose opportunity, we lose talent, and we lose the child's gift all the way into their adulthood, and it costs us later if we don't address it earlier. We must address this now, and we must get involved. And that brings me to the second reason that I'm here. I get to speak on something that I am passionate about, something you heard about a little bit from Les, and that is the subject of giving. Giving back. I have been very blessed in my life, have you heard? My wonderful wife, Takako, who's been with me for almost 48 years now. 2 incredible daughters and son-in-laws, and 6, and you don't have time for me to tell you how awesome they are, grandkiddos. I have so many wonderful friends, so many of them that are here today. It's extremely flattering, and I'm very humble. And they've always been so supportive of me, not only during my recent journey, but throughout my business career. And they've encouraged me to give back, because you see, they get how very important it is. As Winston Churchill said, you make a living by what you get, you make a life by what you give. I've been told that the subject of giving is mentioned no less than 47 times in the Bible. As an interesting aside, I came across the best definition I've ever heard of the Bible expressed as an acrostic, B-I-B-L-E, basic instructions before leaving Earth. These are very specific instructions of what a person is to do regarding giving and what is actually expected. You never help another person without helping yourself. I like to read stories about successful people who have accomplished things in the business world. People like Henry Ford, Andrew Carnegie, the Knight brothers, Bill Gates, people right here in Akron, Ohio. People who in most cases started with very little but ended up with a lot. They all have a common bond, a common thread, if you will, that ties them together, and that thread is that eventually they all ended up focusing totally on giving back. What I believe they have discovered is the mere act of giving without any desire for recognition or even thanks constitutes its own reward and brings a true sense of commitment, contentment, fulfillment, and most specifically, joy. To whom much is given, much is expected. I look at it as our duty, our obligation, but mostly as a real joy. I read a story recently about a woman who was traveling among the mountains and found a precious stone in a stream. The next day she met a traveler who was very hungry. The woman opened the bag to share her food. The hungry traveler saw the precious stone and asked the woman to give it to him. She did so without hesitation. The traveler left, rejoicing in his great fortune. He knew that the stone was worth enough to give him security for the rest of his life. But a few days later, he came back to return the stone to the woman. I've been thinking, he said, I know how valuable this stone is, but I gave it back in the hope that you can give me something even more precious. Please give me what you have within you that enabled you to give me the stone. She smiled at him and said, the joy of giving. But we must do it. And when we do, we'll find that, as the old Chinese proverb says, a bit of fragrance always clings to the hand that gives you roses. We need your continued help and support. Now I know I'm preaching to the choir because so many of you are friends of Child Guidance over the many years. But as I stand up here this afternoon, I'd be remiss if I didn't encourage you to perhaps even get more involved, and especially encourage your family and your friends to do so also. As I mentioned earlier, these kids are our kids. When they lose and are not helped, we all lose. Let us all become supporters and advocates for these children and their families so that these very vital services that they receive at Child Guidance and family solutions are never, ever compromised. Don't give until it hurts. Give until it feels good. Thank you all for being here. So much of this honor, and God bless you all for what you do. Thank you.